Do you have a code for playing the game of love? You should, and I'll explain why along with other thoughts next. They say the average human makes about 35,000 remotely conscious decisions every day. You should be exhausted, right? But you're not. So why is that? I'll tell you why. Because like a computer, you have programming, you have code. Your decisions and behaviors aren't just a free-for-all. They originate from your programming, your code. And what that does is it allows you to basically operate on autopilot most of the day and handling all those 35,000 decisions that you have to make. Your programming or your code, it stems from both nature and nurture, but there's also this element of choice, and what that allows you to do is override the system once in a while, because throughout your day in those 35,000 decisions, your autopilot is basically most of the time saying, in X situation, I do this. In Y situation, I do this. But sometimes you do want to override that, so it's handy that you have that element of choice involved. It's a great system most of the time, but if you're finding that your results aren't what you want from life and love, well, maybe it's time for you to reflect upon the programming that you're acting from, whether consciously or unconsciously. Now let's delve deeper into some of the benefits of operating from your code. Well, the first I've already alluded to, which is efficiency. 35,000 decisions that you have to make every day? Yeah, that's a time and energy suck which you don't want to invest in. So luckily for you, you have this autopilot program. Now, the second benefit that I want to bring up is that it offers you a formula for developing a proper strategy for situations in which you don't know exactly what to say or do. So operating from your code is almost like in case of emergency, break the glass and use your code. So it's like your fallback plan. You just do whatever your code says. In everything that we've known so far about life, this is what we would suggest. All right, operating from your code gives you that. Now, the third benefit is that when you're operating from your code, it's a way for you to experience ease. Because when you're going against your code or resisting your coding, well, that's when you feel that unease, that resistance. It just feels wrong. You might even describe it as that gut feeling in your stomach where you're just like, something just doesn't feel right. When you operate from your code, you feel ease. You feel like everything is right, and you feel good about yourself and actually your decisions too. You have an opportunity here because few people actually really understand that they operate from code, and even fewer understand that they can upgrade their code. So with a little bit of awareness and a little bit of know-how, you really have an opportunity to stack the odds in your favor. Understand that your programming or your code is your behind-the-scenes decision maker. So while yes, it is influenced by nature and nurture, remember there is that element of choice. And that choice allows you to select the values, the rules that you want to value the most about how you're going to play and experience the game of life and all of its mini games by. And the thing is, all of us have our own unique code. Let me share a story with you. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, I stole something for the very first time from the store. It was just a pack of bubble gum, but I was terrified that I was going to get caught by my mom, the store, and the police. So I did pull it off, and I did get away with it, but when I got home, I just ran to the bathroom, locked myself in there, and I chewed a piece of bubble gum, and then I realized I still felt all this tension, so I stuck all the pieces of gum in my mouth as soon as possible, got the taste out of it, got the experience over with, and then got rid of the evidence. What I learned from that experience was that I don't feel really good about stealing, and it just didn't feel right for me. I had that unease that I was talking about earlier. And you see, when I get older and I'm in my teenage years and there's that inevitable peer pressure to shoplift or whatever, I already knew based upon my experiences that my code was set to, you're not going to feel very good if you steal something. So it was easier for me to resist peer pressure and all that shoplifting. And though I wasn't perfect, I could say that that is a situation where my code just told me, hey, you know how this is going to be for you. So I ended up just not getting involved in that stuff. And that's because I understood better my code. And when I just was like, I'm going to operate from this, I know what's for me and I know what's not for me, I felt good about myself. And that's what code can do for you. Once you are more in tune with it, you can really use it to identify what makes you experience more ease and almost pleasure in life too. So that is a huge element where I want you to understand your code affects you. It affects how good you feel about yourself and your actions. The other thing about your code is that if you're in tune with it, you can identify what works for you, what doesn't, and you can fine tune it. It's not something that is permanent, it's malleable. Remember, you have the element of choice, and you can improve it, or you can remove things from it, or you can add things to it. It's your unique code. I want you to understand fine tuning it is to your advantage. If you don't know the code that you live by, I would say that now is a great time to pay attention and identify and really invest in understanding the code that you're operating by, because you're not a final product. You can improve, you can have upgrades to your code. You have that choice. And while we're on the subject of code and making upgrades, I'd like to make a recommendation. My own 8 to close code. It builds upon the 80-20 rule and helps you understand that there's this threshold for success that occurs around 8 out of 10. So it helps you understand what is actually good enough for success, what is actually good enough to achieve. And what it also does is help you encourage taking action and have more productivity and therefore more success. So if you want to learn more about that, it's covered in detail in my 8 to Close Code ebook, which you can get from our website, or it's also free for our Love Life Academy members, for which you're welcome to join, and that's a free academy, folks. We'd love to have you, and I'd love to share that code with you.